Hi. So I wanted to tell you my story about parenting, um, and talk about some of the things that I've learned recently. So the context is I have a 17-year-old daughter, and right now we're doing really great. We have a really great relationship. It's the best it's ever been, I would say, and but it hasn't always been that way. Earlier this summer, we would fight all of the time. This earlier this year. At the beginning of the summer, she I would see her and we would practically fight nonstop about something. We were constantly at odds. And but that has all changed. It changed over the course of the summer. So I want to tell you my story of how I got from fighting with her all the time to not fighting with her and now actually having a relationship where we support each other, we love each other, we can talk freely and openly, and it's really great, in my opinion. Um, I want to say there's 1,000 ways to parent, and none of them are bad. This is just my story about some of the things that I have come to believe and what's worked for me with my kid, and maybe you can find some value in that. So the pivotal moment came in this summer. Well, me and my daughter were having a huge fight. We had been yelling at each other for about 30 minutes or more already, and at one point she yelled at me, "You don't support me," which made me furious beyond, like, it was just I was furious. The thought that she would say, "You don't support me." I yelled back at her, "You don't know how much money I spend on you. You have no idea. I would support you all of the time, every single day. That I try to do what's best for you and give you the things that you need, and you don't appreciate me and you don't respect me, you don't appreciate me, you don't, you're just this entitled teenager." Oh, I was yelling at her. It was not pretty, and it was bad. After we calmed down, she said two things to me. She said, well, okay, I want to back up just a little bit. I realized later that I was missing the picture, that I was missing what she was saying. I wasn't listening to what she was really saying, getting into the underlying thing. Yes, I was paying for a cell phone. Yes, I was paying for her dance classes and supporting her drill team and all these different things. But I wasn't supporting the fundamental thing that she was going through at that time in her life, which is transitioning from a child to an independent adult, and all of the issues and complications and things to learn in doing so. I was not supporting that effort. I was supporting her superficially, but I was not supporting her fundamentally for the real thing that she was struggling with. She said to me two things. She said, "I need you to listen to me, and I need you to praise me when I do something right." And I was surprised. I was like, what does that have to do with drill team? What does that have to do with supporting you? And then that's when I realized I wasn't supporting her fundamentally the thing that she needed, which was that transition from childhood to an independent adult. Um, as I really thought about that, and as I started to try to do that, as I just tried to listen to her, I didn't try to solve things for her, I just listened to her. I established this pattern that she could tell me things and that I would listen. And she would ask me questions then after I established that I would listen to her, then she would start asking me questions. And then we were able to have a conversation about it, and we were able to talk about the things that were important to her, and I was able to hear the things that were important to her, her priorities. And then by giving her praise, it allowed her to hear something else besides constant criticism. She's like, "You just constantly are lecturing me. It would be nice to hear something nice ever," which is totally true. So one of the major themes of that fight was also respect, and I realized something about respect. That respect is, in the history of respect, respect has never been given through a demand. You cannot demand respect and get it. It just doesn't work that way. You can make a threat and you can have somebody fall in line through fear, But you cannot demand that someone respect you and them actually do it. It doesn't work that way. You have to earn it every single time. And when I made that realization and I started thinking through what I needed to do to stop demanding my daughter's respect and start earning my daughter's respect, it reinforced those things. Listen to her and give her some praise. Help her know the right things to do. Help her know that she's walking down the right path, not just the wrong one. And wrong according to who? Wrong according to me, not necessarily to her. Okay. Another concept. I hear this all the time, and I worry about it all the time. I also have an 11-year-old daughter, and there's this concept of my child's just not old enough for X, for this thing, whatever. I realized that's not my decision. I don't get to decide that. I don't get to decide my child is too young for sex, too young for drugs, too young for smoking, too young for swearing, too young for a particular TV show. I don't get to decide that. That is not my choice. At best, it's arbitrary, it's subjective, it's based on maybe my experience, it maybe is based on societal norms, whatever, but it's not based on my child's actual needs. You know what I mean? They get to choose when they're interested in sex, when they're interested in drinking, when they're interested in anything. They get to choose because they'll feel it. They'll just know. They'll just, one day, the opposite sex will be grody, and the next day, they won't be. And that's on their timeline. That's not me to decide. I shouldn't be putting those arbitrary controls on them and saying, you're not ready to do anything, to do this thing. It's not my choice. That was affirmed to me when I was listening to this debate on NPR about the effectiveness of parenting. It was fascinating to me. They were talking about whether parenting does any good whatsoever. And somebody said something in that debate that just really struck me. And they said, our role as parents, if we do anything, our role as parents is to facilitate our children discovering their aptitudes and their appetites. Period. That's it. We facilitate that. Their aptitudes and their appetites. The things that they're good at, the things that they enjoy, the things that they like, the things that bring them happiness and joy, the things that their energy flow to naturally. If we can help them find their passion at a young age, how amazing would that be? I found my passion at 46. Imagine if I could have found my passion at 16, where I would be today. Help your children facilitate their discovery of their aptitudes and appetites when they are ready, not when we think they are ready. Their appetites, foods that they like, the kind of sex that they like, whether they like what gender, whether they like sex at all of those discoveries, alcohol, smoking, swearing, like all those things that we think are, these are all things that we consider adult, and they need help finding those appetites and discovering what they are, and not being shamed for them, and not being ashamed for having appetites of any kind. Because the reality is that kids have real needs as much as anyone. They have needs for connection with other people. They have intimacy needs. They have needs for physical touch or emotional support. They have needs, and they are just as valid as anything. And if we sit there and deny our kids the opportunity to explore their appetites and their aptitudes, all we do is become a barrier, because they're going to do it anyway. We just become, they have to then do those things despite us, instead of being enabled by us to explore them in a safe way. So the analogy that I use is rock climbing. If my kid wants to go rock climbing, and they've decided that's what they want to do. I can be two things. I can go and I can say, you're too young for rock climbing. You're not going to do it. They do it anyway. They go out and they buy a rope and they buy a harness, and I can say, you're too young, you're not ready for that, or whatever, it's too dangerous. I'm going to take away your rope and I'm going to take away your harness, and I'm going to forbid you from coming to this cliff to rock climb. And guess what? They're going to do it anyway. And they'll come and they'll climb. Because I've taken away their rope and their harness, they'll climb anyway. Maybe they'll get lucky and they get to the top, or maybe they won't, and maybe they'll fall halfway through. And they'll fall hard. And they get hurt. Maybe die. Teenagers die trying to find themselves, right? Or they kill themselves because they're not allowed to find themselves. Or I can be on the other end of the rope, right? I can show them how to tie into a rope correctly. I can show them how to set a rope at the top of the cliff correctly. I can show them how to put on a harness and make sure it's around their waist the right way so that it's safe. And then I can be at the other end of the rope, and when they rock climb and they fall, I'm there to catch them. I want to be at the other end of the rope, for sure. So how do you do this? You approach them with respect. You have to earn it as a parent. You have to respect that they're transitioning from a child to an adult, and you can't take it personally. You can't take it personally. You have to facilitate them. You do things with the goal of facilitating them discovering their appetites and aptitudes with you on the other end of the rope. If you take their phone away from you, you are just denying them the opportunity for connection to their peers. You're denying them the opportunity to potentially explore, to go out and Google things, and to explore their appetites. You're denying them the opportunity to be able to see an Instagram post that maybe inspires them for a hobby or a passion or something that they may latch onto and find that they love with all their heart. You're simply becoming an obstacle, okay? Because the reality is, when your kid walks out the door, they will do exactly what they want to do, period. As soon as they are out of your sight, they will do exactly what they want to do anyway. And you can fear them into submission with threats of consequence and all these different things. But that will not garner you any respect. You are only a tyrant, and they'll do what they want to anyway, despite you. So facilitate them. Teach them. Okay, there's this other great saying that I love so much. You start out with an empty bag of experience and a full bag of luck. And the point of life is to fill up your bag of experience before your bag of luck runs out. What if, as parents, we could help them fill their bag of experience without having to expend the luck out of their luck bag? I'm not saying just let them do anything, but help them fill that bag of experience. And how do you do that? You educate them. You warn them with compassion. You help them understand the natural consequences of all the things that they might be encountering. Sex, drugs, alcohol, smoking, vaping, swearing, homework, finances, all these different things. You can help them understand the natural consequences of things, but it's important to also teach them the positive, not just the negative. Teach them that sex is fantastic. It's amazing when two people get together and they're focused on each other's pleasure and joy. Sex is really great. And you can get pregnant and you can get an STD. That's the natural consequence. So just take the risk while you go out and enjoy and explore this thing that is fantastic, that you should love because it's great. Teach them the positive as well as the negative. And then empower them to make their own decisions as often as possible. My 17-year-old does not have a curfew. When she asks me when she needs to be home, I instead say, what do you have going on tomorrow? Anything? You don't have anything going on? Knock yourself out. Do it. I don't care when you come home. You don't have anything going on tomorrow. Oh, you have an ACT test tomorrow? Well, what time does that start? It starts at 8 a.m. Okay. What time do you have to be up to get to that ACT test on time? Okay. You know? And then I say, okay, well, great. So, and then I just let her decide when she's going to be home. I put that because that shows that I respect her. I'm helping her. I'm helping with that risk assessment, you know. But that shows that I respect her. And I tell you, it has made all of the difference. We have such great conversations now. She talks to me about the realities of her situation, and I listen. And when she asks, I help her fill up that little bag of experience just a little bit. And I get to be the dad on the end of the rope, and not the dad who's constantly kicking her ass. You know? Anyway, that's what's worked for me. Good luck out there.